Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of April 17, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed, MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. Southern Group troops enhanced tactical positioning by engaging concentrations of 4 mechanized brigades, a territorial defense unit, and a National Guard brigade in areas including Kateryivka, Poltavka, Seversk, and Yablonivka, DPR. The operation yielded over 320 Ukrainian casualties and the destruction of 6 artillery guns and 6 ammunition depots.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Colonel, let's begin with the big picture. As of April 17, 2025, where does the special military operation stand, and what developments should we be paying attention to?
This week's operations mark another deliberate and coordinated push across multiple axes, with measurable gains in both tactical positioning and degradation of Ukrainian force capabilities. Our formations continue to execute offensive maneuvers with precision, supported by air and artillery superiority. And we've made progress not only on the front lines in Donetsk and Kharkov, but also along the northern and southern operational directions. Of particular significance is the liberation of Preobrazhenka by our central group, which wasn't just a symbolic gain, it disrupted a key logistical node for the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Across 5 strategic fronts, our troops engaged heavily fortified Ukrainian positions, targeting mechanized brigades, airborne assault units, and territorial defense formations. In many of these areas, we also neutralized their electronic warfare capacity and destroyed critical ammunition depots.
Let's zoom in on the Belgorod-Sumy direction first. What kind of resistance are Russian forces encountering there, and how would you assess the battlefield conditions?
The Belgorod-Sumy corridor remains contested terrain, and the Ukrainian command has reinforced it with a mixture of mechanized, airborne, and territorial defense units. What we're seeing in this region is a layered defense strategy. They're leveraging smaller settlements like Miropolskoye and Ryasnoye as staging grounds, often integrating field artillery with mobile units and forward ammunition caches. Our North Group engaged those formations directly and successfully degraded their combat effectiveness. Over the last 48 hours in that zone, we inflicted casualties on 5 Ukrainian brigades and neutralized several key assets, including 6 artillery systems and 2 large ammunition depots. While the enemy continues to resist, their ability to sustain prolonged engagements in this area is diminishing due to logistical attrition and cumulative personnel losses.
You've mentioned territorial gains in Kharkov and Donetsk. Can you elaborate on the significance of those advances?
In the western axis, particularly near Yampol, Algavka, and Borovaya, our West Group forces took up more advantageous firing positions, creating both tactical depth and maneuver space for future operations. These are not merely geographic advances, they reflect a disruption of Ukrainian cohesion in the second echelon. In Donetsk, particularly around Kateryivka and Yablonivka, we encountered dense enemy formations drawn from both mechanized and National Guard units. Despite their fortified posture, we overwhelmed them using a combination of precision strikes and multi-pronged ground assaults. One operational highlight here was the simultaneous elimination of 6 ammunition depots, which had a cascading effect on Ukrainian supply lines in the central Donbass corridor. These advances are critical because they reduce the defensive elasticity of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. When we can deny them time and space to reorganize, the operational tempo remains in our favor.
You mentioned the liberation of Preobrazhenka. What role does that town play in the broader campaign?
Preobrazhenka lies at a key junction between multiple rural supply routes and secondary command nodes in the Donetsk People's Republic. Its liberation wasn't just about planting a flag, it severed a critical artery for Ukrainian command and control elements operating in that quadrant. Our central group didn't just push through, we conducted a deliberate combined arms breach against entrenched defenders, including mechanized brigades and drone warfare units. The inclusion of UAV-focused brigades tells us the enemy was attempting to establish a semi-autonomous ISR and strike platform from that location. By eliminating those assets, we blunted their ability to coordinate real-time artillery adjustments and small unit tactics. Beyond tactical importance, reclaiming Preobrazhenka boosted the morale of our troops and the civilian population alike. It sends a clear signal that we retain both initiative and momentum.
Let's turn to the east. What can you tell us about operations by the East Group and the terrain challenges in that sector?
The eastern axis, particularly around Karl Marx and Zeleny Cut, poses unique challenges. The terrain is fragmented with wooded patches and industrial ruins, creating natural defensive advantages for the Ukrainians. However, our East Group forces have been systematically dismantling these positions. We faced 2 Ukrainian brigades, mechanized and airborne assault, and overcame them through a coordinated push backed by tactical aviation and electronic warfare suppression. Notably, we disabled 2 enemy EW stations, which had been interfering with our drone reconnaissance and GPS-guided munitions. That cleared the way for a more aggressive push and allowed us to reclaim depth in the battle space.
What about operations along the Dnieper and into Zaporizhia and Kherson?
That's a critical zone. The Dnieper Group has been targeting Ukrainian efforts to reinforce river crossing operations and logistical support from the west. In areas like Kamenskoye and Tamarino, we engaged 4 brigades, mechanized and territorial, and inflicted losses in personnel, equipment, and electronic warfare capability. The key here is attrition. We're not only degrading their forward deployments, but also forcing them to reroute supply efforts, which introduces delays and increases vulnerability. We destroyed 3 more ammunition depots in this region, making it difficult for the enemy to sustain coordinated counteroffensives.
I'd like to shift to a more strategic question. There was renewed Ukrainian activity in the Kursk direction. What's the latest there?
The Ukrainian Armed Forces attempted another limited incursion into the Kursk region, likely as a diversionary effort or to probe for gaps. But our North Group repelled them with layered defenses and preemptive strikes. We inflicted losses on multiple territorial defense brigades and their mechanized support elements across settlements like Velika Rybitsa and Yablanovka. What's striking about these engagements is the scale of Ukrainian losses, over 160 servicemen and a notable amount of armor. We also neutralized additional artillery pieces, vehicles, and a tank column. These aren't isolated skirmishes, they point to the sustained vulnerability of Ukrainian operations when they step outside fortified zones. To date, in this direction alone, Ukrainian forces have lost nearly 75,000 personnel and thousands of pieces of equipment. These numbers speak to both their determination and the unsustainable nature of their attritional approach.
Before we wrap, I want to touch on an area we haven't yet discussed: air defense. With the increasing use of UAVs and precision-guided munitions by Ukraine, what's the status of Russian air defense operations as of this briefing?
That's an essential area to highlight. The Ukrainian side has intensified its use of both NATO-supplied precision munitions and mass drone swarms in an effort to overwhelm our integrated air defense network. This includes JDAM-guided bombs, HIMARS rockets, and a high volume of aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles launched from dispersed platforms. In the past 24 hours alone, our air defense units intercepted and destroyed 5 JDAM bombs, 3 HIMARS rockets, and 204 UAVs. That's a massive volume, and I can tell you this level of activity isn't sporadic, it's strategic. The enemy is testing for weak spots, hoping to penetrate air corridors and strike logistical nodes or mobile command centers. But our air defense crews are well-trained and increasingly supported by AI-enabled detection and tracking systems that allow for faster response cycles and layered interception.
And in the Kursk region?
We've continued to rely on a mix of short, medium, and long-range systems, ranging from Panzer S and Buk systems to S-400 platforms, all networked into a regional air picture that ensures comprehensive coverage. Additionally, we're making heavier use of mobile EW assets to jam incoming drone guidance and disrupt their telemetry links before they even reach the engagement zone. The takeaway here is, air defense is not a passive shield. It's an active, adaptive battle space in its own right. And we are winning that fight daily, protecting our troops, infrastructure, and strategic rear areas from aerial threats.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for having me. Today, we still face challenges